Chaos doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Sometimes, all it takes is one spark. And that's exactly what happened when blogger Tasha K inserted herself into an already explosive drama between Melody Shari and Martell Holt. It began with Melody Shari opening up about what she says has been a long pattern of harassment and intimidation from her ex-husband. She wasn't vague. She painted a detailed picture of how Martell allegedly pulled up on her, threatened her, and made her feel unsafe. These weren't just whispers of drama, they were claims tied directly to her safety and her children's well-being. And when Tasha K reposted Melody's TikTok live, everything shifted. Suddenly, thousands of fans who might have missed Melody's words were pulled into the mess. The internet lit up with reactions, arguments, and finger-pointing, amplifying the already fragile situation. This wasn't just another round of reality TV drama. The combination of Melody's raw honesty and Tasha K's massive platform turned a private struggle into a public battle. That spark pushed Melody and Martell's fractured relationship into the spotlight again, leaving no room for silence. And as we dig deeper, you'll see how that one repost opened the door to bigger fights, deeper divides, and shocking revelations that no one could have predicted. To understand why Tasha K's post shook the internet, you first need to see exactly what Melody Shari revealed. During her TikTok live, which drew thousands of viewers in real time, Melody didn't sugarcoat her story. She described moments where Martell allegedly showed up uninvited, confronted her, and escalated situations to the point where she felt genuinely threatened. She explained that this wasn't just about her personal boundaries being crossed. It was about protecting her children from chaos they never asked to be a part of. In her words, these weren't petty ex problems, they were incidents of harassment that went too far. What made her live even more striking was the way that she carried herself. In court, Melody arrived in a sharp white suit, calm and professional, as if determined to show that she wasn't backing down. While some might have cracked under pressure, Melody stood tall, presenting herself not as the victim of gossip, but as a woman determined to protect her family. Her courtroom presence and public statements became symbolic. To her supporters, Melody's strength represented resilience and dignity. She wasn't just calling out Martell, she was calling attention to a cycle of behavior that she wanted to break free from. But the moment her live left her own page and landed on Tasha K's platform, the narrative no longer belonged solely to her. It became fuel for thousands of outsiders to weigh in. And that's when the chaos really began. If Melody's TikTok live was the match, Tasha K's repost was the gasoline. Tasha K, known for her unfiltered commentary and massive reach, wasted no time in sharing Melody's live on her platform. Within hours, the clip spread like wildfire, reaching audiences far beyond Melody's usual supporters. Comment sections erupted. On one side were people rallying behind Melody, praising her bravery for speaking up and demanding accountability from Martell. On the other side, however, were critics, many of them women, who accused Melody of being bitter, resentful, or even fabricating her story to sell products. Some flat out dismissed her as clout chasing. The irony? Those same critics weren't asking why Martell allegedly pulled up on her or why she felt unsafe in the first place. They were too busy shaming her for speaking up. The backlash grew so heated that even Melody's makeup artist had to step in, saying he was shocked that other women were piling on instead of offering support. It was proof that Tasha K's repost hadn't just amplified Melody's story, it had turned it into a battleground where victims sharing voices grew louder than ever. This is a dark side of social media amplification. Once a personal story enters the public arena, the truth gets twisted, and the victim often ends up on trial in the court of public opinion. Melody's reality, her safety, her boundaries, was reduced to a debate over whether she was milking her pain. And that dangerous narrative is what made this moment so volatile. But while the internet was split, Martell himself wasn't about to stay silent. Before we go any further, I just want to take a quick second to thank you all. We've just passed the 500 subscriber mark, and that truly means the world to me. When I first started this channel, I never imagined so many of you would tune in, comment, and share your thoughts on these stories. My ultimate goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers, and right now we're halfway there. But here's the thing, nearly 99% of the people who watch these videos still aren't subscribed. Even one subscribe makes a huge difference in growing this community and keeping these videos coming. So if you've been watching and enjoying the content, now's the perfect time to hit that button. Let's grow this together. Thank you for watching, and now back to the video. Martell Holt has never been one to back away from the spotlight, and this time was no different. After Tasha K's repost gained traction, Martell allegedly reached out directly to her. Screenshots and reports suggest he texted her laughing, brushing off Melody's claims as nothing more than a publicity stunt. He even suggested that Melody's entire purpose was to sell merchandise. His mocking didn't stop there. He downplayed her accusations, insisting that if he had truly done anything criminal, he'd already be behind bars. And in what many saw as an attempt to humiliate her, he ridiculed Melody for showing up in court dressed in her Sunday best. It was a textbook Martell move, flipping the narrative to make Melody appear like the one exaggerating, while he positioned himself as the cool-headed victim. To drive the point home, Martell even claimed that the videos he had sent to Tasha K revealed the real abuser, shifting blame back onto Melody. For many fans, this is a glaring example of gaslighting: instigate chaos, then twist the reaction as proof the other person is unstable. Martell's response showed just how skilled he is at playing both sides of the story. To some, his words might have seemed logical. If I was guilty, I'd be in jail. But to others, his dismissive tone was proof of how easily abusers manipulate public perception. Instead of accountability, Martell doubled down on deflection. And while he kept mocking Melody, another figure, Ariane Curry, was about to insert herself into the mess in a way that made things even uglier. As if Melody and Martell's feud wasn't messy enough, Ariane Curry made sure her presence couldn't be ignored. Known for her controversial role in Martell's life, Ariane walked into the courtroom dressed in what many described as an outfit more suited for a night out than a legal proceeding. Her short skirt and bold look stood in stark contrast to Melody's polished white suit. To many observers, the difference spoke volumes. One woman appeared focused and professional, while the other seemed intent on grabbing attention. Things only escalated later when Melody, Martell, Ariane, and even security ended up in the same elevator. The tension was thick. Instead of staying quiet, Ariane allegedly taunted Melody, accusing her of talking to someone's husband, despite the years of chaos and disrespect that had already played out publicly. But here's where the contrast was undeniable. Melody didn't bite. She could have snapped back, creating a spectacle in front of witnesses. Instead, she chose composure. She held her tongue, knowing that her dignity was worth more than a petty elevator argument. In that moment, viewers saw the stark difference between desperation and discipline. Ariane clung onto insults, while Melody clung to self-control. This wasn't just about fashion or words in an elevator. It was about two different approaches to conflict. Ariane seemed eager to pull Melody down into the mud, but Melody refused to risk her progress by engaging. That choice reinforced her strength, but it also highlighted how easily women like her can be baited into looking messy, while others get away with disrespect. And that leads straight into the heart of the issue, the dangerous double standards surrounding this entire story. What made this feud even harder to watch wasn't just Martell or Ariane's actions, it was how the public responded. Time and time again, people chose to blame Melody rather than hold Martell accountable. Women in comment sections told her to move on, even though she wasn't the one chasing her ex around or dragging his name online. Fans excused Martell's behavior as co-parenting drama, while accusing Melody of being bitter. Some even claimed she was just using the feud to sell her products. Yet the reality was plain. Melody wasn't stalking Martell. She wasn't showing up at his house or interfering with his relationships. She was setting boundaries, running businesses, and raising her children, while Martell was the one repeatedly inserting himself into her life. This constant flipping of the narrative is a classic gaslighting. By painting Melody as resentful or obsessed, Martell and his supporters shifted attention away from his behavior. And the most painful part, many of the people pushing that narrative were other women. Instead of supporting a mother speaking out about her safety, they chose to shame her for not being quiet. This double standard is exactly why so many women stay silent. They know that instead of receiving support, they'll face judgment. In Melody's case, the gaslighting created a story where the aggressor looked calm, while the survivor was accused of being dramatic. It's a manipulation tactic that doesn't just distort reality, it silences victims. And while fans debated online, questions about accountability shifted to an even bigger player, the very producers of Love and Marriage Huntsville. When chaos keeps happening on reality TV, fans eventually stop blaming just the cast. They start blaming the people behind the cameras. Carlos King, the producer of Love and Marriage Huntsville, quickly became a target of fan outrage. Viewers questioned how production could stand by, while Melody repeatedly expressed feeling unsafe. Some fans pointed to reports that Melody had even texted production for help during these tense situations, allegedly asking them to intervene, only to receive no response. If true, that detail struck a nerve because it suggested a shocking possibility. The very people responsible for protecting cast members may have ignored her pleas in favor of letting the drama play out on screen. Criticism of the network grew louder. Viewers accused Own and Carlos King of caring more about ratings than the safety of their stars. The more Melody's claims gained traction, the more people wondered whether production was enabling Martell by keeping the cameras rolling instead of stepping in. And if that was the case, it raised serious questions about how far reality TV is willing to go in exploiting real pain for entertainment. The backlash against Carlos King wasn't just about one feud, it was about accountability. Fans were demanding to know where the line is drawn between storytelling and negligence. If a cast member says they feel unsafe and nothing is done, what message does that send? The controversy surrounding Carlos reminded everyone that when networks prioritize drama over humanity, the damage doesn't stay on screen, it spills into real lives. And Melody wasn't just battling Martell or Ariane anymore. She was fighting against a system that seemed willing to sacrifice her peace for profit. In the middle of the storm, Martell and Melody weren't the only ones under the microscope. The Scotts were too. Letitia and Marceau Scott, longtime cast members, have a complicated history with Martell and Melody. Over the years, they've often been accused of minimizing Martell's actions, downplaying his behavior, or even making light of Melody's struggles. Fans remember moments when they seemed to brush off Melody's concerns as just relationship drama. Instead of acknowledging the deeper issues at play, Wanda, Letitia's mother, added to the confusion. Sometimes she claimed to support Melody, but her backing was inconsistent, flipping depending on the situation. This left Melody standing alone far too often. When other women in the cast failed to speak up, the silence was deafening. Instead of solidarity, Melody faced isolation, with Martell continuing to stir chaos while others either stayed quiet or shifted blame back onto her. For many viewers, it was heartbreaking to watch a woman battle not only her ex, but also the indifference of those around her. The Scotts' unwillingness to hold Martell accountable added fuel to the narrative that Melody was overreacting, even when the evidence showed otherwise. The Scotts' role highlights a larger problem. When friends or colleagues refuse to acknowledge wrongdoing, they indirectly enable it. By failing to speak out, they let Martell's actions slide, leaving Melody to fight her battles alone. This pattern made fans even more protective of her, rallying around her as the one person in the cast consistently standing in her truth. And as the pressure built, it became clear that this story wasn't just about cast members clashing, it was about who the audience could trust and who was willing to stay silent. By now, it was clear this wasn't just messy reality TV, it was something deeper. Melody Shari kept building her businesses, raising her children, and staying focused, while Martell Holt and Ariane Curry thrived on chaos. What started as a TikTok live turned into a firestorm that dragged bloggers, producers, and castmates into the mix. Fans realized they weren't just watching a feud, they were witnessing how public platforms can magnify private struggles. Every repost, every shady comment, every silence from people who should have spoken up added to Melody's uphill battle. For supporters, this was more than entertainment. It was about seeing a woman stand her ground while surrounded by people eager to tear her down. The fallout showed the cost of reality TV when boundaries are blurred. For Melody, the fight was never about clout. It was about peace and protection. For Martell, it was about control. And for everyone watching, it was a reminder of how quickly real pain can be turned into content. The question now is whether the network will step up or whether the cycle of chaos will just keep spinning. The chaos that began with a single repost revealed far more than anyone expected. Melody Shari's decision to speak out put Martell Holt's behavior under a microscope. And once Tasha K amplified her voice, the internet turned the feud into a spectacle. Martell mocked, Ariane provoked, and even fellow cast members looked away. But Melody kept her composure. Instead of fighting back with noise, she showed strength through restraint, which only highlighted the cracks in the system around her, from production silence to fans who chose to shame her instead of support her. What unfolded wasn't just drama for ratings, it was a reminder of how quickly a woman's pain can be twisted into entertainment and how often her strength is ignored until she refuses to break. Melody stood firm in the middle of the storm, and whether people love her or doubt her, she forced everyone watching to confront the uncomfortable truth. Silence and excuses only let chaos grow. The question now is not if this story will fade, but how much longer people will ignore the damage behind the headlines.